What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to G-Ball Vision. Thank you for stopping in. Today I got an exciting unboxing to dig into for you guys. Before we get started, double check and make sure you are subscribed to the channel. I'd love to have you here. And before you head out, do me a huge favor. Hit that thumbs up button. I greatly appreciate it, everyone. Really helps push the videos out there so more people have a chance to check them out. And feel free to let me know what you are carrying in your pockets today down in the comments. Love hearing from you guys. So huge shout out to Vosteed for sending this in for us to take a look at. This is going to be out of their new models or out of their new line of knives, which they are consistently putting out new models. They're revamping old models. And they typically have some of the best packaging in the game. They include a lanyard with this one, which that's a new thing. We have a warranty card and information card there. Then we have our zippered pouch with a removable RE. Nice touch, as always. And then we have our knife and a microfiber cloth in there. And with their more expensive knives, you even get, patches, and they usually hook up the unboxing experience. So that's really cool. We do have a nicely centered blade there right off the rip. The Acorn is the model name for this guy here. Vosteed Acorn 14C28N for the blade steel. This one has a satin finish to it. Nice drop point blade. Full finger choil there. We have a cutout and we have a front flipper tab. And the detent's tuned nicely. I can say that right off the rip. They definitely have this tuned very well. It's good to see companies starting to kind of strengthen up those detents. It just makes for a much more satisfying open. We do have pretty good lockup there, pretty early lockup. That's going to be about 20% or so. We do have option for left-hand carry here. No filler tab. Would have loved to have seen a satin, aluminum, metal, something, anything. Filler tab. Micarta with satin hardware. I do like how clean it looks with just one body screw and then the non-tooled pivot there. And the pivot looks really good as well. The satin finish on the blade looks great. We're going to be rocking with Vosteed's standard clip here, and they do recess it along with the screws. You can see in there internally we have some milling for weight relief. Good access to that liner, very easy to disengage this thing. I do like the contour of the handles. I mean the lines of the handles, and there is a slight contour to the handles as well, which with the right sized hands, this is going to be very comfortable depending on your hand size. Now for me, just based on the size alone, this is going to be more of a mid-size secondary carry for me personally. Definitely could see this being a primary for many others. I like to have something a little bit larger as a primary, and then I carry something similar to this size as a secondary or a fifth pocket. But with that blade shape and the ergonomics, this is going to be great for just a day-to-day, everyday type user. With the 14C, we got a very tough, very corrosion-resistant steel that's going to be very easy to sharpen back up. We got multiple deployment options with the front flipper and the cutout, and you'll be able to rock this thing out on both sides, no problem. And then that flipper tab is very well designed. We have some nice jimping here, and it's going to be great for the thumb, the index, and it should be good for the reach around as well. And then on the back side here, we just have our two clip screws, body screw and tooled pivot there. Not sure what they're going with as far as hardware. It does look like T8s to me. Let's check it against a 10 here. Yeah, so those will be T8s. And it looks like the clip screws are going to be T6. Yes, T6 on the clip screws and T8 for the rest. I'd love to see T8s all the way around. But we're talking about a very affordable knife and price point here as well. And typically, Vosteed gives you a lot of bang for your money. You know, this is probably a $60 knife or something like that. Could be even a little bit cheaper. Could be a little bit more. They typically price their knives very, very well. It's going to carry pretty deep in the pocket. You'll see a tiny, tiny little bit poking out, but this is actually a lot lower than there's a lot less poking out of the pocket than normal. Vosteed likes to stick with like a 1/4 to 1/2 inch poking out of the pocket with their deep carry clips because they lower mount them. And that's based on functional usage of the knife, being able to get a good grip on the knife and pull it out of the pocket, which I have no problem with that. It's going to be, you know, up to the end user what you like and what you need, type of a deal. But as I always say, there's not everything is for everyone, but there's always something out there for everyone. I love what Vosteed has been doing, coming out with new models, revamping old models. They're doing an excellent job all the way around. There's no way around it. And with them being a smaller shop, it is just ultra impressive. A lot of people still have the idea that Vosteed, or some people have the idea that Vosteed is this massive, massive company like Kaiser or Civivi, companies like that, and they're just not. They are a very small shop who competes with the big dogs. You guys will have to let me know, have you picked up any Vosteeds recently? Have you decided to ultimately pick up an Acorn here? It's easy to get in and, you know, just anything, you know, if you get hooked on a company like Vosteed, for instance, and you start enjoying their knives, it's really easy to get caught up and find yourself pretty much buying and checking out every knife they put out. And Vosteed's a good company to do something like that with. I mean, they offer very affordable knives, you know, stuff you can beat on. And then they offer a little bit higher priced knives as well, kind of gentlemanly type carries, or just a little bit more, you know, a little bit more of a fancy type carry. That satin finished 14C 28N drop point blade is going to be a razor, especially with the right edge on there. It seems to have a pretty decent edge coming right out of the box. Wouldn't be anything or any trouble at all to just throw this on the strop for a minute or two and have this thing just razor sharp. They did a fantastic job on the detent on this thing. Just for a liner lock, very, very nice on the detent. Nice and clicky. The reverse flick is money on this. Thumb flick is also very nice. And yes, I did drop a very heavy Chavez blade on my thumb yesterday. So yes, I did cut the hell out of my thumb. But we didn't have any trouble with this one. So the next question ultimately is going to be, how is that lock holding up? Is that liner lock going to give us good lockup when it is open? Now, there's no detent lash. It goes from closed to open. There's no lashing in there, meaning the blade moving around inside the handle, which is good. That's what we want. There is no pivot lashing, which means everything is nice and tight in there around the pivot. There's no movement of the blade. And then when we are locked up, we have that 20% there. And that's not an indication that the knife is going to fail, that the lockup is going to fail. I have tested dozens of knives that have extremely early lockup, such as this, and they do just fine. Early on in my testing, though, I thought maybe early lockup such as this was a cause for concern, because I had some that were locking up very early that were slipping. But then as I continued testing, I realized that that's not the case. You can have extremely early lockup like this and still have a very solid lock. So let's go ahead and check this guy. We'll get the old spine whacker out here and see what we are working with. And I think it's been a long time, a long time since I've had a Vosteed fail this test. I think the last knife I had fail this test was probably a year ago, or maybe even longer. The original button lock raccoon. So that's a testament to Vosteed's, attention to detail. And it doesn't matter if we're talking about button locks, crossbar locks, their top liner locks, their liner locks. They have all been solid that I have had in here. And it looks like the Acorn is going to be another solid option when it comes to the lock. That is wonderful. So, off first impressions, this is going to be a solid little secondary carry. I was going to get into something, but I'm not going to. These days, we're going to get into it a little bit. These days, making videos on any products for that matter, but more essentially knives, which is what I focus on, they've gotten increasingly better over the last year for sure. But over the last, I get this question and then I get douchebags saying certain things. And the simple fact is, you can literally pick any one company. If I hand you 15 cards and I give you 15 companies, and within those cards is every knife in their lineup, right? You pick one card, that's one company. Then you have every knife that they have produced or that's in production. And you pick out a certain knife, just a random knife. That knife is more than likely going to be really damn good from tip to butt. It's going to have a good, a good to great steel. It's going to have a good to great edge coming out of the box. It's going to have good fit and finish. It's going to have a good detent to a great detent. Yes, there are exceptions to all of that, but I'm talking about the majority of the time. Now, whether this is your, cup of tea here, this price point, this style, that is irrelevant because this knife is definitely going to garner attraction from very many people. The simple fact is, knives have gotten a lot better. And these companies are trying to appeal to the knife buyer, to the knife community, and they're trying to do a good job. So, and with all these newer companies coming in full circle and competing with each other, it has just driven knives to an astronomical level. Even a very inexpensive knife right now, $50, $60, $70 right now, are just astronomically better than they were 10 years ago. Just insanely better. It's unfathomable compared to, say, 2004 to 2024, so 20 years. It has gotten so much better, and you can get so much more for your money. So for the douchebags out there who, say that you're calling every knife good or great, that's because it is good. It might not be good or great to you because you don't like the design, you don't like the size, you don't like the blade shape, whatever, the locking mechanism, whatever it may be. That doesn't defy the fact that the knife is still going to be good. This is a good knife. There's no excuse to say that it's not. I have no rhyme or reason to say that it's bad. Even if something is not my style, not my blade shape choice, steel choice, handle material choice, you still have to look at the knife for what it is, the price point that it's going to be sold at, and is it going to do the job of a cutting tool? And for the most part, the answer to that question is more often than not going to be yes. So, just to put that out there for any D-bags running their mouths, without that person being even remotely in the same area as you running your mouth, just a little food for thought. Knives have gotten better, and that's just the way that it is. So sorry for the rant, but some things need to be said, and that's just the way that it goes. Knives have gotten so much better, and like I said, you can pick one company, pick one knife out of the hat, and that knife is probably going to be a solid pick. Take Vosteed, for instance, and you pull one of their knives out of a hat, it's most likely going to be a badass cutting tool, and it's going to get the job done. So with that being said, let me know what you think of the Vosteed Acorn here. I love hearing from you guys. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. I always appreciate that. If you're new here, we release videos just like this one every single day. Hit the subscribe button, ring the little bell. I'd love to have you here. Otherwise, guys, I'll throw up a couple of new videos. Go check one of them out. Have yourself an awesome day. Thanks again for watching. I will catch you on the next one.